Today we're talking to a vegetable seed business that started life out on Instagram. Yes, this was an influencer, but then they decided they wanted to monetize, and monetize they have. Now they're looking to take this business, this small business, to a whole new level. And they've come on the Grow with Evergreen podcast to get our help in making that happen. Let's see if we can help grow this business. Welcome to Grow with Evergreen, the podcast designed to help you grow your business by providing practical insights into all things paid media, creative, and digital strategy. Every episode, we help home, garden, and lifestyle brands with their growth challenges by delving into their business, dissecting what they're doing, and defining a digital growth strategy they can take and deploy into their business. Let's get into it. Right, welcome back, beautiful people. I hope you're all doing well. It is our very first podcast of 2025. I feel we need to do some. We've used all of our party poppers on TikToks, but I feel if we had them, we should have used them. But yes, it's our first podcast of 2025. We've been back 2 or 3 weeks of the year.
And I've returned.
Darren is the big news. The big news. Darren has returned. Yes,
I'm not ill anymore.
After his hiatus. Away, he is back in the hot seat. How you doing, my friend? You well?
Yeah, good. I was sweating a bit. Archie did such a good job in my absence. I thought you'd replace me.
He did. He was fantastic. So yeah, big shout out to Archie. Yeah. Should we give our Grow with Evergreen listeners and viewers a little update on what we've been, because we've been back now. What, almost 3 weeks?
Almost 3 weeks
into Jan.
Yeah.
And my goodness me, our feet have not touched the floor, have they? Hence, I mean, the proof of the pudding is we're in the 3rd week of Jan, and this is our first podcast of the year.
And I think we did a good job in prepping for this because we knew we'd get busy.
We did.
We recorded quite a few of these in advance.
Luckily,
this is definitely not going to be the first one that people see in 2025, but it is the first one that we are recording.
Yes. Well, already, I think 2 or 3. 3's got out. Third one came out today of the year.
Today,
every Wednesday, regular as clockwork. We've never missed a week. So yes, lots. Luckily we recorded many ahead, which is good. So I don't know when this one will be going out, but it's as time of recording, living in the moment for us right now. It is towards the end of January, and it's been a very, very busy month. What have we been up to? Share some headlines. Come on.
Wow.
We know our audience. They're nosy. They like to know. They like to what's Evergreen doing? So come on, give us some insights.
We've had a couple of new people join the business. And if you've not checked out our Uncut, we actually did a whole Uncut about those new people.
Well, we were trying to talk about the year. Constantly interrupted, weren't we?
I didn't know what was going on. I thought I was being gaslighted. I thought something strange was happening. And
very spooky.
He revealed to me that we had some new people. And not only new people, but incredible people.
Oh, they're amazing. Yeah, we've got some real talent and some real personalities in the team, which is amazing. And they're just going to enable us to take things to another level. And great. And we're already getting them involved in our content and stuff like that, which is just great. And the expertise that they're being able to bring is great. So we'll give them a little. Should we give them a little shout out?
Let's give them
a little shout out. Come on. So we've got Lucinda, Lou, as she likes to be called, is our head of paid search. Yep. So she's come in with her 14 years of experience of paid search, which I keep ribbing her about. 14 years. Doesn't like the fact that I keep saying 14. I'm not that old. Don't tell everyone I'm that old. But she's been doing paid search, specifically the Google, the Microsoft. Big fan of Microsoft.
Bing. She loves Bing.
She does love a bit of Microsoft. But masses of Google, of YouTube. So she's just a real sort of veteran.
Yes.
She's not going to like me calling
straight out of primary school. That's what she is.
So she's a real expert on paid search. Brought her in to head up that side and just take it to the next level.
Yeah. And she has already.
And she's amazing. And she's just going to just make miracles happen on that side of the business. And then we've brought in Matt, who is heading up our paid social. So again, he's been doing exactly this for more than a decade. True expert, amazingly talented, and the loveliest bloke in the world.
Oh yeah.
As just to take that whole side of paid social just to the next level, and just Meta, Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram,
I've already had a plethora of conversations with Matt, and honestly, I cannot wait to have more because the chats that we've been having just about the combination of creative and social is just, it's so good.
But equally he's loving is the fact that he's got access to you and to Hat and to Archie from a creative standpoint. Because one of the things that he was just like, when, we were talking about, the vision for Evergreen and where we're going to take it together and this, and he was like, I love the fact that quite literally on the other desk next to me, I have a whole creative team at my disposal for all the creative ideas that I've got. I can go and implement this stuff. Amazing.
It's the perfect,
which is going to, that balance is going to work really well. And then Chris has come in as well, who is our paid search manager. And then Ginny's come in with Truffle, her dog.
Office dog.
Who's made an appearance once or twice. And we just got lots of new faces. We've got more people coming in, and it's all very exciting.
I think you might have just heard him bark.
He's in the office. If you hear some barking, he is in. I think you can hear us talking about him.
Yeah.
So lots of new faces. We've got some new clients as well that we're working on. We've got some new features and some new content-y bits that we're working on.
We've been out and about all over.
How many trips have we done now? 2? You're doing another one
3.
tomorrow.
We technically not all for the same type of thing, but we technically have 3 trips.
And then the local stuff as well.
That's the thing.
3 big trips.
Yeah, 3 big trips. Lots of local trips. I've got another big trip tomorrow
with Harriet.
Up early. 5:30.
You are going to be up at, Hat's going to be up at 5. Oh my God. I'm just like, leave me in bed.
Yeah.
So that's going to be amazing. I should explain for anyone listening, Harriet's my wife.
Yeah. I would be a bit strange.
Evergreen,
we just have one big evergreen bed.
We like each other, but not that much. But no, Harriet is my wife, therefore I am allowed to sleep in the same bed. I digress. But yes, so lots happening. Hence why we're almost at the end of Jan, and this is our first podcast.
Yes.
And we're a little bit rusty, and we need to get back into the flow. We need to get back in the flow. I mean, you haven't done a podcast for a couple of months.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So, yes, right. So let me share, my dear viewer and listener, with the plan for today and the conversation we're going to have, because we've got Kate waiting in the wings. We'll be bringing her on very shortly. The business, really interesting one. It's called shegrowsveg.com. shegrowsveg.com. And it is a vegetable seed business. As I mentioned at the top, it is a business that was born out of, and Kate will tell us more, but it was a business that was born out of Instagram and an influencer. Her business partner, Lucy, started with an Instagram page and was growing weird and wonderful veg. And then they wanted to monetize it, and off to the races they went, and the rest is history. And they turned over £250,000 their first year. That's amazing. How many businesses would love to do that? And then now they're looking to double and triple, and just, the world is their oyster. And Kate was talking in the pre-chat about their business plans and where they want to go, which is very, very interesting, exciting. The reason they're on the pod is to pick my brain, specifically their marketing challenges. First and foremost, brand awareness. So we're going to get into what do you mean on that. That's the first big challenge. Second one, growing revenue. Yep, we can all relate to that. And then the third one, they want to continue to grow that social media following, which has been the linchpin in terms of the business to this point. They're doing lots of paid media. So they've got Klaviyo running. They're on Insta, Facebook. They're doing some YouTube, some Google stuff. They're doing some TikToky bits and bobs, and a whole bunch of other stuff. They are spending about 10 grand a month on their marketing, just to paint you a picture of the size of this business. So they are investing in customer acquisition, in growing the business, which is good to see. They are, we always ask, where do you want the business to be in 1 year? And they want to double the revenue. So the targets essentially we've set is they did 250, and this is naturally being seeds. This is a very, very seasonal business. So at the time of this coming out, it's going to be right in the peak of their.
Yeah, they're going to be picking up soon.
It really is. So, they want to double, and so they want to do $500,000 revenues this year, and then beyond that, just keep growing. What does the business look like when it's finished? They want to be the go-to veg seed company in the UK. Let's aim big. Let's do it. Love a niche product, and I think that is going to be very interesting. We'll find out more about how Kate's planning to do that. Then she's got some questions specifically around how to compete with the big boys. Podcast. She's asking a question about podcasts. So we have to bring you in on that one, see what she's planning on that. And then they're planning to do, for anyone listening thinks, this is relevant to my business. They're looking for, we'll get Kate to tell us more, but sponsorship, because they're wanting to do the Chelsea Flower Show, which would be amazing. Actually, some of our clients do this, so maybe we could connect.
Yeah, maybe up. We know a few people.
So there you go. That's going to be the conversation today. Aim being, let's see if we can help Kate grow this business and find out a little bit more about the backstory. I think, but before we do that,
wow, yes.
You know what we need to do? I
thought you'd forgotten then.
Not quite. You know what we need to do? It is that time. Come on, let's do it.
It is that time.
Let's do it.
That's right. It is time once again for a paid media mystery. I nearly forgot to prepare one because it's been so long. But
you pulled one out of the bag.
I pulled one out of the bag, and it's an interesting one. So, my question for you today is actually a multiple choice question.
Oh, we've not had one of these
So I'll give you a couple. And just for a special first of the year, there's even a bonus question, a Brucey bonus.
He started as he means to go on. This is because he knows that Archie did such a good job.
Yes, I thought I'd come back swinging.
Yeah, exactly that. He's in fear of his role as chief production officer.
So technically, I've got two today.
Come on then, let's go. Let's do it.
The question is,
yes,
which of the following platforms has the highest average click-through rate for ads?
Okay.
So again, which of the following platforms has the highest average click-through rate, CTR, for ads? Is it A, Google Ads, B, Meta, C, LinkedIn, or D, TikTok?
Oh, I know you can't. There's no more specifics than that because that's such a ads is just such a massively broad. So Google's going to be very low. It's not going to be Google because it's not going to be Google because Google, if it's just ads, it's just
click through rate just on all ads, I would imagine.
Okay, right. Hold on. Let's think about it. So LinkedIn, Google. My instinct was LinkedIn, but that's the thing. So LinkedIn, Google. What were the other ones?
Google Ads, Meta, LinkedIn, TikTok.
Click-through rate. Oh, so I don't know. I don't know. It's a really good question. I am going to have a stab in the dark. I don't know.
Sure.
I'm going to go a little bit left field on this one.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because I think I'm going to go TikTok. And the reason I'm going to go that is because I think a lot of the content on there, people don't know it's ads. And so they click through.
Interesting.
I don't know. I'm probably completely wrong.
I completely agree with your logic on that.
But I'm wrong.
And I probably would have guessed the same, but you are wrong this time. You actually should have gone for Google Ads.
Really?
But it's interesting.
Okay.
Because you were right when you said that Google Ads is quite low.
Okay.
Because they're all quite low.
Yeah.
But it is the highest average. So the bonus question, the Brucey bonus, is what's the percentage?
Oh, okay. Right. Well, Google Ads. Okay, let me just think. So Google Ads. So click-through rate. Is this UK or is this just global
it's
data?
Global.
This is okay, blimey.
It is very low, as you said.
It's going to be, on average click-through rate. I'm going to go... I'm going to go under 2%. I'm going to go like 1.5.
Okay. Not quite that low.
Okay, fine.
It's 3.17.
Okay.
So it's around that. So you're not far off.
Yeah, fine. I was just thinking, if you said UK, I would have gone higher. But because you said global, I was thinking global. And also, I mean, there's so many things I don't know. I feel like I'm making excuses now. There's so many things I don't know.
To be fair,
what type of ads? Where?
To back you up, you have guessed some of the most obscure questions we put in front of you. Absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
So
it's fine. But that's I love those mysteries because 99 out of 100, I have no clue about. That's okay. So Google's got.
It's a really interesting one.
Okay, that is interesting.
3.17%.
Yeah.
And that's the highest.
Okay. Wow.
It's incredible.
That is.
People don't click.
Yeah, I mean, if I think about our clients, 3 to 5% is what. And I'm talking to. We sort of go. If you're getting, 3 to 5% is typically where we go. But I would then. I should have just kept thinking about our clients.
You're thinking about it too much.
Yeah, I am thinking about it too much. I'm trying to overthink it because I'm trying to go, don't just think about what we're working on.
Because actually, the ones that you get right most of the time, you say right away.
It's because I just think, all right, so I'm going to do that. From now on, I'm just going to think of the ones. I'm just going to think in the context of like, if just think about our portfolio.
Yeah.
What would it? Yeah. Okay. Fine. I am making excuses. I sound like I'm moaning. Anyway, let's move on.
We're not doing paid media mystery anymore.
Whose idea was this paid media mystery? Let's scrap it. Right. Let's bring Kate on and get into these business challenges. Perfect. Kate, are you there?
I'm here.
There she is. Right. Thanks so much for jumping on the Grow with Evergreen podcast. Lovely to have you with us. Just give us a little 30 seconds of you, bit of background on the business and where it exists today.
So I had a career in marketing for 25 years and I quit the whole thing 2 years ago to start She Grows Veg. And She Grows Veg is the UK's newest vegetable seed company. We're an e-commerce business, basically, and we specialise in heirloom seeds. They're otherwise known as heritage seeds.
Okay.
We sell really unusual and beautiful varieties, but we're disrupting the whole seed industry. So it's a very old-fashioned industry, the seed industry. It's been done a certain way forever, and we've come in and we're shaking things up a little bit. So we're only e-commerce. We're not selling in garden centres or retailers. We're doing everything online. We're a sustainable business, so we print no catalogues, which every horticultural company in the world seems to do. And so all of our resources are digital, and on the back of every seed packet, there's a QR code that takes you to a YouTube video on how to sow and grow the varieties. And because we were an Instagram first company, as you mentioned, our photography is Instagram perfect. So every seed packet is absolutely stunning. And you've had a poke around the website, I think, haven't you?
Yeah, sure, of course we have.
You'll see that everything on there is really enticing and inspiring to grow.
It's beautiful,
And then, a lot of our competitors just haven't got that sort of beautiful edge, visually. So we're trying to do things really differently. And what's so interesting about the industry is it grew 40% in lockdown, and a large proportion, about 82% of the people that started growing in that time were actually under the age of 40, which as a 47-year-old I consider young.
Okay.
And basically that growth in the market has sustained, but most of the other brands out there aren't targeting the youngsters and the younger grower. So we see ourselves very much in that space for them.
I see. This is interesting. I love this. This is good. And I love a niche product. And as you say, the website is beautiful. Anyone wants to check it out and sort of see what we're talking about, shegrowsveg.com. It is beautiful. The photography is great. The website looks great. It's very easy to use, very intuitive. So it's good. Ticks those boxes, which is what we want to see. So well done you. Okay, that sounds good. Just give us a little bit. I sort of touched on it at the intro, but just give us a little bit. You said it was an Instagram first. So this was Lucy, had an Instagram, built a following. Just give us a little bit on that. Give a bit more context.
Yeah, so 7 years ago, Lucy and I met on a garden design course that I was doing in my spare time on the side of my marketing career. And we sat next to each other for a whole year, every Friday on this course. So that's how we connected. And as I was sitting there next to her, she was just starting an Instagram account and her handle was She Grows Veg.
Okay.
And what she was doing with this account, she basically was building herself into being an influencer, as you said. And what she was doing was sharing her growing journey of lots of unusual, interesting, colourful heirloom varieties of vegetable seeds. And so she built up quite a significant following by the time I turned up on the scene. And she had around 150,000 followers.
Okay.
So, really sizable. And that really rocketed in COVID, as you can imagine, because we're all obsessed, weren't we, with growing in the garden, etc.
Yep.
And basically, from there, she sort of had this inkling of an idea. A lot of her followers were messaging her and saying, where do you get these seeds? And she was growing all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff that just wasn't available for sale in the UK.
Okay.
And so she's getting all these messages. So she had a real sense that there was some demand out there for the interesting varieties she was growing. And about a year and a half ago, probably just over, she sort of tapped me up and she said, listen, Kate, can we have a coffee? And we hadn't seen each other for ages, but vaguely stayed in touch since our course. And we had a little sit down. She said, she's very much a creative. She takes all our photography. She does all the growing and all of that side of things, but hadn't a clue how to monetize this idea she had. And she had this sense of there needing to be this seed company in the world that sells all this wonderful stuff. And she had a chat. And at the time, I'd got to a point in my long career where I was a bit sick of commuting to London. I was ready for a change. I was at a certain stage in my life where my kids are getting older. I was ready for a new challenge. And she sort of said, "Oh, I don't know, what do you think about this idea?" And I said, "Oh my goodness, this sounds really interesting." But being the marketing geek, I needed to go away and do a ton of market research, just as you guys would do, to check that, yes, it's great to have that inkling, isn't it? But is it a thing? Is there an opportunity?
Is there a market for it? Yeah.
So I did that, and it was very clear there was. I looked at the competitors that were all really old-fashioned and stuck in their ways. I looked at where the market growth had been in COVID, and I looked at the growing interest in sort of where your food comes from, provenance, the quality of your food miles, and the environment. And this picture sort of built up in front of my eyes that, oh my goodness, this is a really good business idea. So I terrified Lucy, because I then went back to her very quickly and said, "I'm going to quit my job. Let's do this." And she sort of said to me, "I'm not sure I could cope with that pressure." But actually, we're both super ambitious, and that we're very aligned on that. Our whole company motto is "Grow big or go home."
Love this.
We just decided.
So let me stop you on that. Hold on. So was Lucy already full-time? Was she a full-time sort of influencer? Was that her full-time job, or did she have another job?
That was kind of her job, and she was getting bits and bobs of sort of income here and there from brands that she was obviously advertising.
Right, she was making but
not as a sort of significant amount. She was always also doing some photography for an heirloom seed company in the US called Baker Creek. So she sort of had this bank of photography she was creating already.
Okay.
But other than that, she hadn't sort of even been able to get off the ground with it.
And so then you just turned and said, "I'm just going to quit my career and just go full time into this."
Yeah, I did.
Wow, all right. I'm fascinated on that. We've got to just talk about that, because that is a hop, skip, and a jump, and there'll be people listening and watching this going, "Wow, how do you do that? You go from a salary, security, etc." I'm sure. Have you got kids? I'm sure you've got.
I have 3 strapping sons that I have to feed regularly.
Well, yeah, right. So you got family commitments, probably mortgage, you name it.
Yeah.
So how did you make that transition? Because was the business in a place where it could afford to pay you? Did you just have to take a period of time where you were working just for, sweat equity? How did that work?
Yeah, so, we're a 50-50 business, Lucy and I. She had obviously built up equity in the Instagram profile. So I put a little bit of my own savings into the business to get us on a level playing field so that we could carry on like that. And basically, we weren't paid for 6 months, so we had to fund that ourselves.
Wow.
And so I basically cleaned out the family savings, and obviously we tried to make cut backs, etc.
Sure.
But after 6 months, we worked so hard.
Yeah.
After 6 months, we were paying ourselves.
So 6 months of pain. There's a lesson there, because that is a virtual hat tip, because there's a lot of people that would not do that. I think that is amazing. So well done, you.
I think there's a quote there actually from I believe it's Jim Carrey. Said, if you're unwilling to live a year uncomfortably for the life that you dream of, then you don't want it enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I completely agree with that. That sums up what a startup is like. Because there's financial sacrifice is one thing, but actually I have never worked so hard in my life. I'm also a mum. Yeah. And so the sacrifice is massive in terms of your energy and time and everything, really.
But that's what, as you say, you've got to do, haven't you? You pay yourself less, you take on more responsibility, more risk, more stress, you work harder, you work longer, but you're doing it with a means to an end, a sort of a goal. And love that. I can, completely relate to that. And I'm so impressed with that. I think that is amazing. Particularly, as you say, if you've had a career for 25 years and then you just have sort of gone, off on a completely different way. Amazing. There's a lot of people listening that just wouldn't have the gumption to do that. So then, just carry on. This is a fascinating story. So from there, you start both working in the business full time. When did the warehouse, the fulfillment? What were the next big pivotal? If you were talking about the history of the business, what were the next key milestones look like?
So you're going to think we're absolute lunatics, but basically, we started the business in June 23. In August 23, we pitched for a space at Chelsea Flower Show, even though we hadn't got any seeds yet.
Okay.
Gained a space at Chelsea Flower Show. And then it wasn't until the November of that year that we started selling seeds.
Right.
So that was the next big sort of milestone, if you like. So that was sort of us kicking off selling seeds online on the first iteration.
And where were you? Was this a
website.
kitchen table fulfilling it from your back bedroom type thing? How was this
Well,
working as a
it was
business?
run from the kitchen table until we had seeds in our hands, and then we had to take up on a tiny little office space, which looked like the smallest studio flat in the world. We were kind of on top of each other, and there's boxes everywhere. And it was just Lucy and I. So we were doing everything from marketing to finance to fulfillment, all of it. And you fast forward, and the next huge thing was May 24 when we did Chelsea Flower Show. We won a gold in our first year for our exhibit.
Wow, amazing! Well
the
done.
company grew massively by then. It took off much faster than we ever dreamt of, which was sort of overwhelming and brilliant in equal measure. And then you fast forward to now, which is just over a year later. We've got a team of 13 women.
Wow. Amazing.
And we've got a much bigger office space. We've had to move already. And we've added 100 new seed varieties to our range. So there's a lot of big stuff has happened.
Yeah, in a very short amount of time, really. So and so now you said you got your what do you call it? Your warehouse, where you do fulfillment. What sort of size is that?
So it's not enormous. I mean, it's basically, oh gosh, I don't know the square meterage of it, but it's big enough for 13 of us just about to operate within it on any given day. We're lucky in that our manufacturer holds a lot of our stock until we need it.
Okay. So are they UK or are they overseas?
So they're actually even in the same county as us in Suffolk.
Amazing.
So we chose them deliberately because it's better for the environment. They're closer to us in terms of mileage. So they're right near us, and so we can pull 200, 300 packets of each variety as and when we need them, rather than
So you haven't got to hold a lot of stock. So that's super useful, isn't it? And I mean, the product itself is so small, so it's ideal, isn't it? I love this. Okay, amazing. Right, so that gives us a bit of perspective and it paints a picture for us in terms of the business and where it is today. So we'll get into your challenges in just a second, but before we do, what is the vision? Do you and Lucy have a vision of where you want to take this? You obviously said when it's finished, you want to be the go-to veg seed company. But what does this in 10 years from now? You know, if we were having this conversation in 10 years and you were describing the business you'd built, how would you be articulating that?
The business I would have built would have achieved the goal of getting as many people in the UK as possible to grow their own food, and for them to enjoy all of the benefits that brings, whether it's saving money, nutrition, well-being, all of the good stuff that happens. And so we want to make some money because we're very driven and we're ambitious, but we have a huge consciousness of what we want our legacy in the world to be. So we actually do quite a lot of charity work as well. We're helping an urban growing project. We're helping people with disadvantaged backgrounds in social housing to start growing and donating seeds. So there's a sort of legacy thing, and then there's I'd really like to have a business that's turning over around 10 million.
I was going to say about the numbers. What does that look like? So in terms of that's the sort of the pinnacle of where you said you want to build it to a £10 million business.
Yeah, and actually, we're very open and honest with the fact that long term we'd like to sell it. So where we see
nothing wrong with that.
We think one of the really big seed companies, we're the ones addressing this younger demographic.
Absolutely,
they're not.
Baby.
Hopefully they might absorb us at some point, and I can just sit on a beach somewhere.
And that was going to be when I was going to say, if you had that in play, because that would seem, based on the business, how you're positioning yourselves, the understanding of socials, the understanding of digital, the sector as a whole, this space, we know we do a lot in this space. There is the digital maturity for a lot of people in this space is nowhere near the level you're at. So that gives you a massive competitive advantage. And as you say, if you build this and you gain some notoriety and you really gain some traction, I can absolutely imagine that people will come and want to gobble you up and just say, we'll take that. So
fingers crossed.
I can see that happen. That would, if this was my business, that I would be that back of mind thinking. I'd absolutely be thinking, if we build this to you get your EBITDA up into a decent multiple and just look at those numbers. You're going to be in good shape, I would imagine. So if that's part of the vision of not right now, but in a few years, I think that's very exciting, very interesting. And that is something I think is really important to do, is have. For you and Lucy, have that plan in your mind. So even if it's a 5-10 years away, I think that's a great thing to do, isn't it? It's just go, look, this is what we're building. It is an exit one day. It is a 7-figure exit, Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. So amazing. That's super useful. Now, let's see if we make that happen. So the first marketing challenge, or I want to sort of talk about all kind of one in all together because they're all linked. So the first one you said was marketing, was brand awareness. The second challenge was growing revenue, and then the third, growing your social media following. Just overall, what is your biggest marketing pain points, more specifically? And then we'll see if we can sort of delve a little deeper and help you with it.
I think the difficulty at the moment is fundamentally cash flow in the business. I know, because I've been in marketing for 25 years, I know the value of marketing, and I know if I pull this lever, this might happen. I would like to be spending more on marketing than I am at the moment, but we don't have the money.
Okay. Yep.
So it's about boxing clever and really strategic use of what spend we have. And opportunistically, we've got our fingers so closely on the pulse, watching our ROAS on PPC and watching, what the click-through rate is on everything we're doing, and watching our socials that, the minute we start turning over relative to spend, will increase the budget.
Yeah.
So it's about being smart for us at the moment.
Let's delve into that then. So of your spend, how much, you mentioned PPC there, how much is going into your Google ads, stuff like that? Just give me some numbers in terms of what the biggest channels and platforms you're currently using to market the business.
So our total ad spend across the board is around 10 grand a month. Around 7 of that is PPC.
Which is, so Google specifically?
Google specifically.
Okay. And within that, are we doing search, shopping, Performance Max, all of the above?
All of it.
All of it. Is there anything in particular do you know the breakdown? Because I think you've got a third party, an agency or something doing this for you.
Yeah, we do.
But do you know what campaigns you're running?
Yeah, I've got about 20 campaigns running at the moment. Some of them are experimental because it's interesting in our first year. So we're 15 months old, right? So we haven't had that long-term learning cycle.
Yeah, you've only had one season, one peak to learn, haven't you?
Yeah, and if you think this time last January, we were brand new on the scene. I literally had £1,000 of marketing to spend that last January.
Wow.
And so it was a very different playing field. So we were almost still in learning. Well, we're always still in learning mode, aren't we? Yeah. But, even more so for us. So we've got some established campaigns that we know are our bread and butter. And so we are spending a lot of time basically targeting keywords that are quite specific around heirloom, heritage, and the niche keyword area that we can own. We're not quite rich and famous enough to be competing on really generic keyword terms like vegetable seeds. We'd love to have a ton of cash to throw at that to compete heavily with the really big players, but we haven't yet. So we're, as I said, we're just trying to be a bit cleverer with it. Google Merchant is very fruitful for us.
Okay.
We have a sort of target ROAS of between 3 and 4. This time last year it was actually 8, which was awesome.
Okay.
And that, I think, was because people didn't know about us. So
how much of that was brand? But then the scales of that, what were you spending £1,000 last month?
£1,000 and getting.
And I bet a lot of it. Have you split out brand versus non-brand?
Yes. So we're about, I don't know, about a tenth of our spend probably is on brand.
Fine. But last year you wouldn't have been you weren't as further along. So if you're only spending 1,000, a higher proportion of that would have been brand because you're riding the coattails of the Chelsea Flower Show, etc., which is probably why you got a higher ROAS. Is that what you've seen in terms of the 3 to 4 is a leveling out of, there's some brand in there. Is that including the brand, the 3 to 4?
Yes, yeah.
So overall as an account, you're spending 7,000, give or take. Is that on a quiet month or is that a peak month?
That's a peak month. So we do scale spend. So I would say our peak period is from October to May, really.
Yeah, fine.
So that's when we
and that's where you go up to sort of 7K. And so you put 7K in, and then in terms of return, you'll get 3 to 4 times return on that. Is that? Yeah, does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's about right, yeah.
Okay. And so within that then, is there any clear winners and losers? How does shopping, are you running standalone shopping or have you just got it via Performance Max?
Yeah, both, yeah.
Okay. Are you running, within your Performance Max campaigns, are you running feed only campaigns? So that's like where you force Performance Max to just show the shopping network. Are you doing that?
Yes, we are, and we're about to spend some money. And obviously is across YouTube as well. We're about to spend some money in-stream YouTube advertising as well. We've created a really lovely brand ad.
Nice.
So that we were talking about brand awareness. That's still a huge challenge for us.
Yep.
So I'm trying to balance out, activity I'm going to get immediate return on to boost my cash flow.
Yep.
And creating brand awareness. So it's a fine line, as you know, and that does mean sometimes our ROAS can dip a bit, but our lower threshold is around 3. We try not to go below that.
What is your average order value?
So it varies wildly because, for example, we launched a seed advent calendar that within the realm of our products is really expensive. It was £65. Okay. We launched that in September, and so average order value shot up because obviously it's a big ticket item.
Yeah.
And around Christmas, we do lots of gift bundles, that kind of thing. So that our average order value is around sort of 40 odd pounds at that sort of time of year.
Okay.
In January, a lot of people order all the seeds for the year. So we have 100, 200 pound orders coming in, which is a lot of seeds.
Yeah.
So around January, February time, average order values around 38, 37 pounds. And then it will dip. So later in the season, March to say September, that order value goes down to about 19, 20 pounds. So it does vary.
Be difficult to make a return on that, isn't it? Okay. But if you were to look at the year as a whole and you were to blend it for your average, do you know what that would come out at? Because you're going to have these seasonal peaks and troughs, but if you look at an average, we always
will. It's around £35 average. I was going to
say it's 30 to 40 pounds, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got strategies in place to try and boost that average order value. So we're working at the moment on a mechanic at checkout so that people get free shipping if they order over a certain number of packets to boost average order value.
What is your, have you got that in place at the minute? You're sort of above this
We're
level?
We're just developing that actually because the website's only about 4 weeks old. So
that's nice.
the latest iterations.
Regardless of what I order, I have to pay postage on top?
You do at the moment, yes.
What is that postage?
So it depends how many seeds you're ordering. It can be anything from £1.95 for a small order up to £4.95 for a big order.
Fine. Okay. So £2 to £5 postage. And what's the repeat rate? Obviously, you've only got a year's worth of data, not even that. But in terms of once someone becomes a customer, with what frequency do they return?
So I'll give you an example of our best customer has ordered 15 times in 15 months.
What's your average customer?
She's my favourite. She's spent over £1.5 grand on our website. I bet she is. In terms of averages, we've seen over a third of our customers have come back.
Okay, wow, that's good. So you've got a third customer return, and when they return, what's the AOV on the returning customers? Do you know that?
So the AOV goes down at that point.
Fine, because they're just buying additional.
They're often just topping up. So they might buy 2, 3, 4 packets of seeds. So it does dip down, which takes it down to sort of more like £15.
Makes sense. All right. The subscription model that you've got on your website.
Yes.
What's the order value and lifetime value and retention rate on that?
So that launched with the new website. So that's 4 weeks old.
Okay, fine.
So in terms of hard data, I don't have an awful lot for you. Retention is 100% at the moment, which is good.
Yes, there we go. Let's maintain those levels.
Exactly. What's been fantastic, though, sort of anecdotally, is how much that's taken off. So that subscription service is designed to iron out the wrinkles in our revenue. So as you will have gathered, we're highly seasonal, like a lot of horticultural brands. And so the idea of the subscriptions is to provide a level revenue throughout the year. And we're actually, it's gone so well at launch, we're going to launch a third subscription package within the next few weeks for kids.
Nice.
And so, that's the strategy with that. And it's really taking off, and particularly paid social has been really fruitful for driving those sales.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, nice. But that, I think, and what will that look like in terms of what is the subscription price?
So, it depends how long you subscribe for. So people can buy up front, which they often do when they're gifting to someone. So if they gift 12 months, that's around £100 for the lower tier subscription.
Right.
And as a sort of direct debit arrangement, it sort of varies depending on which package they're buying, but it's anything from around £10 to £20 a month. But the joy being is if you're a newbie, we give you the right seeds at the right time with a lovely little postcard with a QR code that tells you exactly what to do with the seeds we sent you. So it's the ultimate for anyone that's new to growing, because we'll nudge them exactly when they need nudging, and hopefully they'll be successful.
No, I like this. Okay, interesting. And then the gift side of the business.
Yeah.
That's obviously, you know, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to work out when that's going to resonate most. But is that a new thing as well then, the gifts?
Yeah, so we did quite early on create these little gift bundles, and we've got a sort of beautiful cotton eco bag that little seed bundles sit in, and that side of the business took off massively, particularly this Christmas. And so we're actually looking to expand that. We never sit still, so we'll be creating more bundles, but we're actually looking to bring some gardening gear into the mix as well. So trowels and gloves and some of the paraphernalia around growing, so that we can make those gifts bigger and bulkier and more interesting.
Interesting. Okay. Right. So in terms of the marketing activity, what are you doing? You're obviously running the ads and so on and so forth, but outside of that, what are you doing boots on the ground advertising to get this in front of people?
So we are not doing any print advertising because it's not where our target audience live. We are investing heavily in SEO and content creation.
Okay.
So we are creating around 20 pieces of content a month. So we've got a very robust SEO strategy.
Is that going into the growing tips, recipes, and all of that good stuff? Is that going into there?
Yeah, exactly. And what we're trying to do is really be very clever about when we're creating something. So we write the blog, we film the video, that goes up on YouTube. We create some content for Instagram at the same time.
Yep.
So that we've got that sort of full circle of content creation, and you know, we're making the most and sweating every asset we have as much as we can.
Okay.
You know, we've got over 150 YouTube videos already, so we're sort of building up that bank and very quickly, and it's proving very fruitful actually for the business.
On the content, what is it that you want to? What is the recurring themes with your? You said you've got a very robust content strategy. What is it you want to be famous for?
So, well, there's I guess. Is it fame? It would be my question back to you, actually. What we want to be is every grower's ally, and therefore they may buy our seeds.
But let me rephrase the question. So Google famous. What I mean by that is because there are so many websites, there are so many blogs that talk about gardening, vegetable growing, etc. So what you've got recipes on here. You've got a lot of different content. But what I liken it to is, as a small business, you need to carve out your little corner of the internet that is like your little place where you can go and as I say, create that community and that consistency of just banging the drum, saying this is what we're talking about, this is what we're experts at, this is what we want to be, Google famous for. What does that look like? Are you clear on what that is? Because there's a lot of different types of content you're putting out.
Yeah, absolutely. So the main thing is that we are very food orientated, and a huge part of our marketing strategy is around that. So that the motivation to grow your own is actually to feed yourself, right? And we all care more than we ever have done before on where our food comes from, the provenance, but actually really importantly, the flavor, because we're foodies, right? We want everything to taste amazing. So that's where the recipes come in, is that we want you to be eating this incredible food. We absolutely want to be owning the heritage and heirloom space.
Yeah.
Okay. We're dominating heavily in terms of searchable content on that.
Is there much search for that? Have you looked into how much people search for heritage?
We've done all of the search volume.
You've done all the mapping, so you know all of that. And are we talking hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands more on a monthly basis?
Per month, tens of thousands,
in the UK.
In the UK. And what's very interesting for us as well is the unusual veg space.
Yeah.
So quite a lot of what we have in the range is unusual, either looking or tasting or a bonkers variety you've never even heard of.
Okay.
And so we're owning that, and that those search volumes might be 1,000 a month, but if we can own 40 of them, then we're in a really good space. So we're sort of carving out a lot of our niche keyword content to begin with, but alongside that, our strategy is to be every grower's ally, so that the help content's really important, but we're differentiating our help content by stripping out all of the gardening jargon. So it's all in layman's terms. We don't talk in feet and inches. It's very sort of almost that knowledge that was passed down through the generations. We're by their side and giving that knowledge, but in really practical ways, and we don't have to space everything evenly. And it's very much give it a go. It's an experiment. We're there for you.
Okay,
and that's really, really successful for us. That approach.
Interesting, because I'm just looking while we're talking. I'm just having a quick look on the website because you've got the content, and I'm just wanting to see the prominence of those kind of cool, because as you say, it makes sense in terms, if you think about your target customer, you've got the recipes, you've got the growing advice, but your niche, your specialism, I would say what you want to be famous for is this heirloom, it's this heritage seeds. That's what underpins this is our niche, this is our area of expertise. Would you agree? So it's weaving that in.
So that's in every single piece of content we create, basically, one way or another. And, as you know, good content strategy means that you're linking every piece of content that you own.
Yeah, sure, exactly.
And so that's a huge part of it, is always linking back to either heirloom and heritage resources or to our products. And so that you've got that sort of ecosystem of content.
Okay, because we're
only 12 months in, so I've got
it's still
as long as my arm of stuff I still want to create. But
of course.
We've made great strides in a short space of time.
I think that just looking at some of the content, I mean, I don't know how sort of involved you are with this, but it doesn't look like your content to me, looking at it and just doing a little keyword density check and so on. Heritage and heirloom, it's not as prominent maybe as you think. So you might want to check, but just there's lots of content, and visually it looks spot on. There's some really good stuff in there, and the topics are great. You're covering real things, and this is definitely going to resonate with your target market. But it's if I try and tie that back to the writing theme is heritage, heirloom, etc. I think you could do a better job on that, because I think and again, do you know what Google Search Console is? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So have you looked into that? A good litmus test that you can do on this is you can go onto Search Console, you can put in heritage, heirloom, all of those sort of buzz terms of the things that you want to be Google famous for, and just see and then filter by pages, look at pages, and just see how prominent your blog pages are coming up. Because or you could filter by /hub/ which is where your blog sits. But just checking that, because what I think you might see is you'll see your products ranking for that, but your blog, and I see this quite often, is actually blogs. It's like you put loads of effort and we're doing loads of stuff, but actually, particularly in this example here, when you're talking across lots of different topics, because there's lots of questions and there's lots of scenarios in which you could write 1,000 pieces on that. Just make sure that you're keeping top of mind. This needs to tie back to heirloom and heritage. Some of them have got it, but there's quite a few. I just rattled through about a dozen while we were talking, and I would say only 3 or 4 mentioned it.
Okay, that's a good sense check. Thank you.
So I think because that, I think you're right. That the content strategy, the compounding effect of content with videos, is beautiful. It's a long-term burn. And I mean, to be honest, the fact that you're already so far ahead doing it is amazing, because that's going to, in years to come, that's going to stand you in really good stead. And it's going to give you a platform on which to build. But I think you'll get there quicker, and it will be a heck of a lot easier if Google is very clear that all of the content we're creating, we're sharing, is under the remit, sits within the remit. The parent of that is heritage, heirloom. It's those key facts. In the same way, I'll liken it to our content. We like the pod, the stuff that we do as an agency, very different, but the premise will be the same. The million people, so many people, thousands of people talk about, Google ads, Meta ads, etc., but very few do it in the context of specifically for home garden lifestyle brands. So that gives us a very clear, and that's made our cut through both in terms of Google, but also in terms of being very clear to our target audience who our content is for, we cut through. If we lost that niche focus, becomes so much harder. And I think for you, if you were to pull a sitemap, is yours a WordPress website?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to see if I can pull up your sitemap. Gone a bit on the geek off here, but I want to check something because I think this will really help. And I think sometimes, as you say, a fresh perspective looking at this is quite useful.
And it's a brand new one as well, so definitely an interesting.
So let's have a look. So you've got. I'm doing a little bit of jiggery pokery. So you've got 112 blog posts on your website.
Mm-hmm.
Let me have a look. So only just to give it, and this is by no means, but this is just give you a sense. Only 2 of that 112 have the word heritage in the URL, and only 3 have heirloom. Now, whilst it's not mission critical that it has to be in the URL, in terms of relevance to what we want to be Google famous for, if you were to dial that up and just be mindful when we're creating content, it could be because you've got so many different topics, but they all need to tie back to that central theme. If you do that with consistency, you will just cut through so much quicker.
Yeah, and so you would add it to every URL.
Not every, no, because that would be stuff in it. But what I think you do is just, if you're mindful of it, you need to think the topics you need to be writing about need to tie back to this. And so you're not stuffing it in, but it's just a case of being mindful of it. What I would want to see in there is of that 100 plus, 20%, 30% is because that's the bit that you can be Google famous for. You're never going to own the search results and be famous for, how to generic topic, how to sow and grow, and the healing power of gardening, and these are all good stuff. It's all going to be good information, but as standalone topics, then you're never going to rank because you're not trying to be famous for this topic and how to cook this and how to sow that and how this works and why and what veg here, and you got lots of how-tos. Just does it make sense what I'm saying? What you're wanting to be famous for is use the content. Absolutely, keep doing that, but make sure you tie it back to a central narrative.
Yeah, makes sense.
And just weaving that in from an optimization standpoint, it will just cut you through. You'll cut through so much quicker. And it's weaving it into the URLs. It's obviously doing what you're doing on some of the posts, which is weaving it into the internal links and linking off to the product where relevant. You never stuff those keywords in, or never crowbar them in, but you just want to make sure that if it's topically relevant, you'll naturally want to link out because you're going, well, we're talking about this, we're talking about that.
Yeah.
But at the moment, and you can check this for yourself. You can go into Google Search Console, search for heirloom, search for heritage, look at the pages and look how frequently, and then look at clicks and impressions. Are you getting clicks and impressions for your blog post? I would bet you it will be very, very minimal. And if you know that people search for heritage and heirloom seeds, this, that, and the other, that's what I'd be focusing in terms of basing my content strategy around, because that's what you're going to be able to be famous for. And it then ties in perfectly and backs up the central narrative of the business in that is what you sell.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, total sense. Thank you.
So that's a big thing that I think, go and do it. And then, ping me an email afterwards and let me know if Search Console does back up that theory. I think that's, super, super powerful and important thing to do. And then in terms of the competing, it's a difficult one. I think, I've said many times that if your average order value is only £30 to £40, and in that sort of region, I think Google Ads can be very difficult to make work. And at a 3 to 4 ROAS, does that work for your business or not? Can you?
Yeah, it does. We're lucky in that we have a very high margin.
You got a good gross margin, so you can make it work.
Yeah.
Fine. So if you've got that, we've got some clients where they say as long as you can get it at 2 ROAS and beyond, go, because their margin is that good. They can allow for that, and they know the LTV, the lifetime value, warrants. It's just new customer acquisition after new customer acquisition. We've got other clients where they absolutely cannot make it work as a business if it's under 4 or 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a business by business case. I think for me, if this was my business, what I'd be thinking about is as you say, the real niches, the real niche. And the best thing you can use with your content, but also with your ads, is you're basically paying to do keyword research. So I don't know the setup of your ad account, not seen it, but one thing you said is you're running 20 ad campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
I know there was something you said, there was some experiments going in there. That feels too many to me. So I'd need to understand it to be able to confirm. Before we go any further, are you enjoying today's episode? If so, you'll love our other show, Tea Talks. They're short, informal chats where the Evergreen experts and I share actionable nuggets on all things paid media, creative, and digital strategy that we use daily when growing our clients' businesses. And best of all, much like this podcast, it's completely free. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, see the link in the description. Now, let's get back to it. Right, so I think, as I was saying, I think on the PPC side, I think it's going to be tough. I think that is when you've got a relatively low average order value. I think the way I would attack this, and we've done this many times over the years, is I would go very, very focused on the key lines and get those to work. And if 3, 4, 5 rowers can work, get that, and then just, as you say, push more into that and get a little bit of scalability into that, and then move on to the next. How much are you doing that versus trying to spread yourselves? Because there is a tendency, isn't there, to spread yourselves, go, well, we'll try a bit of everything.
No, well, because we've had a year to experiment. We've tried a number of different products, categories, keywords, terms, and we've refined it down rather than up.
Right.
So that we are laser focused on best sellers and areas that we can own, basically.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, the obvious thing to me, which I was was good, but you mentioned at the top that you're e-commerce only. But a way to grow this business would be the whole wholesale, the garden center. But you don't want to do that as a business. You've made a decision you want to be e-com only.
There's a huge problem with that in that the garden centers want 60% of your margin.
Sure.
So that is problematic. And also our target audience. So we're a premium product. We're more expensive than all of the other brands out there.
Yep.
Our target audience don't go to garden centers. And so, I just don't think, I want to sacrifice 60% of my margin because I know that the majority of my target audience shop online.
Yeah.
And B, garden centres, vary wildly in consistency, quality, and there is an older demographic that shops there that are very price sensitive, and we are not for them.
No, exactly.
So, actually the next logical thing for us to do is to sell through Amazon.
Okay, so
interesting. As another sort of online sales channel.
I mean, how much margin they're going to take, right? I mean, it won't be 60%.
Well, I think it's exactly. So we're exploring that at the moment.
Okay.
But I hold a firm belief actually that we could grow this ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, you're owing to your target market. The direct to consumer type makes a lot of sense. So I think, but I guess the thing that I always come back to time and time again when I have these conversations is, if you think about where you want to go, say in a year from now, what the business looks like, what I always liken it to is understand the role that ads, whether it's Google ads, Meta ads, understand the role that that's playing. And then you can use that to work out your growth. So if you're doing, let's keep the numbers simple. So if you're doing 250 turnover in the last year and you're planning to double that to 500, what I'd want to understand is, of that 250, how much was, and I use the BEAR acronym. So how much of that 250K revenue can I associate and place in what I would call the brand camp? So how much can I accredit to brand? That's brand awareness. That's going to be through the influencer stuff, etc. How much can I apportion to that? Then, are you doing email marketing? So the E in BEAR is from an email perspective. You are doing emails. From a tracking GA4, how much of our revenue can we attribute to email marketing? Then, how much, the A is ads. How much can we attribute to ads? And then the last one is referral, recommendation, and other. So how much can I attribute to those? Those four, so brand, email, ads, and referrer, those four are going to make up the vast majority, if not all, of your sales in terms of 250. Then when we're looking to double the size of the business or whatever you're looking to do, if you look at it and said, right, well, is it realistic that we can, that the brand is going to double? Well, to get a sense of that, you can look at your trajectories, you can do some marketing and market analysis, you can look at your search console and so on and go, is our brand growing? Can we realistically think we're going to double the size of brand and therefore, as a sort of rough guide, double that level of income? Can we do more with email? What is the reliance going to be on ads to drive that growth? And then from a referral recommendation standpoint, can we influence that not as much. And what you'll see is, let's keep the numbers really simple and say right now there's a 25 split across all of those four. I mean, wouldn't that be lovely? But if it was 25% reliant on brand, 25 on email, 25 on ads, 25 on referral, when we're then looking to double the size of the business, is that reliance going to stay the same or is it going to change? And 9 times out of 10, it's going to need to change, because to grow, particularly if you want to grow aggressively, you're going to have to become over reliant, at least in the short term, on ads, on the levers that you can pull to drive that growth, because you can't just force brand awareness to double. You can't force referral recommendations. You can influence more immediately email by doing more of it, by increasing your email list, and ads. So typically you're going to have an increase in reliance on those channels. Then with email, it's a case of what have you got? What else could you get? Working out your email marketing strategy. From an ads perspective, what are we doing? And I would look at it as a whole and say, did we put into ads last year and what did we get out? So let's keep the numbers simple and say last year, overall, I don't know, we spent 25 grand on ads last year, and that generated us at an account level a 4 times return. Therefore, that generated us 100K. Just keep the math really simple. That generated 100K. Right. If we want to double the size of the business, we need paid or ads to contribute 300K's worth of revenue. Therefore, on a 4 times return, we're going to try and increase the return, but if we can't, we're going to need to invest, 1 into 4, 75K. And does that make sense? That's how I would work out how we grow, because Google Ads, as for all the changing and the evolution and this, that, and the other, Google Ads is incredibly predictable in many respects, in as much as you can see what do I put in versus what do I get out. And what often happens with a lot of businesses is they go, well, last year we invested X, therefore this year I want to invest the same or just 20% more. But
and still expect to grow.
But I want to invest 20% more in ads, but I want to grow by 50% or 100%. And actually I just go, well, let's work out your reliance on ads today and what your reliance on ads realistically is going to need to be. And actually you can do scenarios, because you can then say, well, if I can get a 5 times return, well, then I only need to invest X to get into that level of revenue, or I continue at the higher investment level and I increase the overall turnover. Or if that revenue drops, then what do I need? But if you go through that exercise, it becomes very easy to remove a lot of the guesswork, and you can almost then pretty much guarantee that you're going to grow, because you're going to say, well, I know if brands grows incrementally by 20%, if I can do more with my email and I can increase that by a third or by 50%, ads, I'm going to drive that, but I need to invest in driving that growth. Because you've got to speculate to accumulate. If you want to double the size of this business, you're going to have to, I would imagine, without seeing any of your numbers, at least more than double your investment into paid.
Yeah,
does that make sense? Have you forecast that?
And that's kind of how it's tracking. It's funny you should mention that at the moment, because
there you go. Because it's the same for everyone.
Yeah, we're going out for angel investment fairly soon, probably, and so we've had to do some of the maths on this. And you're absolutely right. Then email, ads, and social for us are the big drivers.
Yeah, they will, and that it makes all the sense. It's that. Because those are the mechanics. Those are, as a business owner wanting to grow in these early stages, those first few years, those are the levers you've got to pull. And I see it all the time, is you're going to have an over reliance on ads, which means you're going to have to invest more in it to grow the business. And then as you get to that next level, it's almost like your other channels then catch up. Your other platforms then catch up. The brand catches up. Email catches up, because you're driving more footfall. More people are subscribing. You're increasing your subscriber base. And so that catches up. And then the referral, the recommendation, the socials builds, because you're just driving greater brand awareness, because you're getting more engagement, more footfall to the website. But you have to overtrade and overinvest into ads to drive that growth. Because when you sit in here running the business going, I want to double, that's the quickest route to market that you've got. But you have to invest in where you want to be and not where you are. And I had so many of these conversations, like last year, with our clients and with people on the pod, is just saying, well, where do you want to be? And they'd go, oh, I want to be at £1 million. And I'd go, right. And to do that, ads is going to account for 50% of that, 30% of it. Right. What is the multiple you've got on your account? They go, well, I've never got more than a 4 times return. I say, well, whilst you're going to try and incrementally improve that 4 and get it to a 4.5 and a 5, let's assume it maintains, because frankly, Google gets more expensive every year. And therefore, just to maintain the return, the CPA and the ROAS for a lot of brands is actually, that in itself is quite hard to do. But if we can maintain that level of return, then you can just 1 in 4 is going to mean you can work out what you need to invest.
Yeah. No, it makes complete sense.
Does that make sense? Do you know what? This has been such a fascinating conversation. I've absolutely loved it. Would you do me a favor? Would you come back on in like a year's time and we can chat
I'd
about
love
where
to.
the business is? And because I just think, as you say, you've only been doing this for 15, 18 months in terms of like trading properly. I'd love to see where you are when
I've
you've
hit my targets.
Well, yeah, that would be amazing. I'd love to come back on and just see how you've done it and stuff like that. And I think hopefully you've been able to take a few things, I think, from a content, just review it. Please review it and do ping me an email. I'd love to know if when you look at Search Console, and have a look at the data, if how much visibility you have with heritage and heirloom. If you double down on that, that's what you can be Google famous for. With all the top, do that, and then, as you say, it seems like you're doing the right things on Google. Just make sure you're investing enough into ads to be where you want to be, not where you are.
Yeah, makes complete sense.
Yeah?
Thank you so much. That's really helpful.
Okay, it's been a pleasure. I've loved having you on. Thank you so much for being on the Grow with Evergreen podcast. The very best of luck, and send my best to Lucy. Keep doing what you're doing. I love it. And well done you for taking the leap into entrepreneurship and becoming a business owner from a full-time role, because not everyone does that, and I love it. Amazing. Thanks so much for being on. Well, there you go. That was Kate. What a fantastic conversation that was.
That's fascinating.
I loved it. That is just amazing.
I hope my dying back here wasn't getting in the way of that.
You did have a bit of a coughing fit.
Yeah.
Bless you. Are you all right?
Yeah,
good,
not too bad.
Good. I would have asked earlier, but I was in my flow. I was like, just let him cough away.
Just on the floor.
But it's, as I say, go and check out shegrowsveg.com. Really interesting business. Clearly doing some good stuff on socials. And it's a business that I think has lots of potential, but it's a thing you hear me talk about all the time to clients. You know, we've got a couple of new clients we're working on right now.
Yeah.
How similar the conversations have I just had?
So similar.
One in particular that we went and saw was it last week? Yeah, it was. It was a mirror image. Very different product, completely different product, but mirror image. They had a blog. They had loads of content. And we've looked at it. And one of the first things we've said, and we've tasked their team, we've said was great, but it's too generic. It's too broad brush. What do we want to be famous for? And I actually asked their team this, and I said, and they all said in unison, they all went, we want to be famous for X. Yeah. And it was like, well, let's look at the website. Are we doing that? And we looked at it together. No, we're not. We're really not doing that. And I think that's for this is, you know, everyone, it's so easy to have a blog and to create content. And particularly there's a lot of effort. These guys, you know, Kate and the team are going to be putting a lot of effort into that content. Yeah. And if you're going to do that, stand the best chance of getting that content seen, just so it doesn't published, there's a big song and dance day one, but then it goes into the ether, it's never to be seen again.
Which happens with so many people.
Most people. And the way to anyone, you know, watching, listening to this, thinking, oh, maybe we're guilty of that. The easiest way to check, go onto Google Search Console, go into, there's on the top, you go into the performance section on the left, you click at the top and there's a filter. Click the filter, click pages. And in the page, it says URL containing, and there's a text box. In that text box, put in the page URL that is your blog that inherits the string. So what I mean by that is most website will have website.co.uk/blog/blog name. Sure. Take the /blog/ just that element. You don't need the post and you don't need the root domain. You don't need the website.com. You don't need any of that. You just need /blog, or in Kate's case, it's /hub/. In our case, it would be, in our website, it would be /growth-marketing-hub /. But it's that parent blog URL. Take that, apply it as a filter. If you do that, what Google you're asking it to do is to filter all of your clicks, impressions, data, organic. This is not ads. This is your organic data, and show you how visible your website actually is and how much your content. Because this client that we went and saw last week, they had, like Kate, over 100 posts. And I was able to look at the data and go, okay, impressions, you've had hundreds of thousands of impressions, great. But they'd only had a few hundred clicks. Yeah. And I was like, and I just said to them, I said, look, so you've put in all this effort over last 2 or 3 years, you've created, how many tens of hours have gone into that? And you've only actually generated a few hundred clicks, that's kind of depressing, right?
It is.
And then you sort of saw their face go, oh. And I was like, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but that is because you're creating really good stuff, but it's not getting seen. It's not about the quality of the content. Yeah. It's that Google's going, well, you're talking about this topic and then this topic and then this topic and this topic. What do we want to be Google famous for? Bang that drum consistently, and then you will gain traction because Google will go, oh, okay, I know who to put in front of this content in front of, rather than it sitting on page 25 of Google and never being seen.
You got to know the system and then know how to work it.
Yeah, exactly that. And one thing you didn't say on this episode that I know you wanted to say, what was your phrase? You said, I didn't
get a chance.
We didn't get a chance to, but let's do it now.
I want to say, Kate, if you're still listening,
what should Kate do?
You really need to sow seeds to get the leads.
Hey, yes.
There we go. Got that in there.
I love it. There you go. There, Kate, you can ask a freebie. You can have it. Well, she won't be listening, but when she listens to this back, she'll be able to get that. But yeah, there's a little freebie for Kate. But yeah, she needs to continue to sow the leads.
Sow the seeds.
Sow the seeds. Blimey, sow the seeds to get the leads.
You can tell it's the first of the year.
Yeah, I love it. There you go. Right, we got it in. Right, I think we need to wrap this one here and move on with our very busy month ahead. Right, Darren and I, assuming he sticks around.
I've got to get an early night.
We'll be, you're off up north tomorrow, but we'll be back very soon, well, next week, in fact, for another Grow with Evergreen podcast with another amazing guest. If you'd like to come on the pod, we have got some applications open now for guests this year. I am going to tease a little something here because later this year, this is the first time I've mentioned this, later this year, we are introducing a new thing, which I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it is going to be exclusive for those that have been on our podcast.
Oh, yes, I know what you're talking about.
And we're saving it for a Podstone milestone, and then it's going to be a whole new way of us helping those businesses. But it's only going to be available to those businesses that have been on the podcast. It's a little extra. Yes. It's a Brucey bonus.
For the
people that have been on the pod.
Yes.
So if you would like to come on, get mine, Darren's help for an hour to grow your business. We delve into marketing, paid media, creative, however we can help you. We are freely available. It's completely free to do. Come on, it's completely free. We generally have applications so we're booking a few weeks ahead. You would be. And the prerequisites are you have to be honest and open.
You do.
You have to be willing to share your marketing challenges.
Absolutely.
You have to really be, happy to talk about your numbers.
Yeah.
We don't go too granular, but we like to be able to go what you're turning, stuff like that. And you have to be a home garden lifestyle brand.
You do.
Easy. If you tick those boxes, get yourself on the pod. We'd love to have you on.
There are.
But yeah, we're going to do some, and we've got some new features coming with the pod soon.
Yes, we do.
All sorts of so many good things happening. Constantly growing. The Grow with Evergreen podcast. There you go. Right,
it writes itself.
It really does, doesn't it? Right, thanks so much for joining. We'll see you next one. Take care. Hello, beautiful people. I hope you enjoyed today's Grow with Evergreen podcast. I want to ask you if you would like to be my next guest. We're looking for more home, garden, and lifestyle brands to join us. So if you're using paid media such as Google Ads and Meta Ads, if you're willing to be honest and open, and if you're wanting to grow online, then I think you'll find our podcast incredibly helpful for your business. You can apply directly via our website. Simply click on the navigation in the top right-hand side of the website and select podcast. Fill in the application and one of my team will get back to you. Best of all, it's completely free to join us on the Grow with Evergreen podcast. I look forward to helping you grow your business very soon.